Well, we're going to talk very briefly about hip versus knee dominant movements and why they might be important for you, especially if you're here watching this video. A lot of people told me this week that they have hip or knee pain. And if you're having, say, a lot of knee pain, you can still train your legs. You can still get your quads really strong by focusing on hip dominant movements. It doesn't mean that your knees and your quads and your calves aren't doing anything. It just means that more of the focus is on your hips. And that's great because we want strong glutes. They propel us, they make us jump and do all these things. But we want to spare our joints, especially if they're in an inflamed condition. And so we have hip dominant movements, which would be something we're going to do in a minute here, which would be a deadlift, where you see that my hips are moving more than my knees, okay? So I'm here and I'm coming up. Or we have squats, which make my knees bend more than my hips. So those are the two variations that people think of the most. It would be a squat, which is more of a knee or quad dominant movement, or a deadlift, which is more of a hip dominant movement. And there's tons of variations of all those, but we're going to go over the quad dominant movements first. So I'm going to have you stand up nice and tall with your feet at about shoulder to hip width, okay, somewhere in that stance with your feet facing forwards, okay? So we're going to be up here. Oh, I'm going to tilt this up again so you guys can see me. All right, so we're back here. Our feet are roughly hip or shoulder width apart. We don't want these guys way out here, okay? We're not squatting with our feet way out there. We're going here, and as we go down, we want to make space for our hips. So our knees are going to go out. We want to make sure we're pushing our knees out and not letting them cave in. This is a recipe for patellar pain around your kneecap. Also can cause some pinching in your hip if you continue to force it, called anterior impingement, FAI for short. So we have our feet forward, but our knees are going to push out as we go down. Feet stay on the ground, and then we're up. And we're going to make 15. So we're pushing down, making space for our elbows to go. It's a great little cue to make sure you're forcing your knees out. And we're working on a quad or knee dominant movement. Maybe you can spare our hips a little bit of discomfort. I think I'm at 6, 9 more. 7, you'll see my feet are facing straight ahead, but my knees are going out. 7. 8, we're working on the dorsiflexion of our ankles. I think that's 9 or 10. I'll say 9. 10, locking out the top. 11. 12, I'm just trying to get the crease of my hips below my knees a little bit. 12. 13, and you can go down to whatever level you need. If you need to go down and that's it, then that's it. If you go down here, you come up, that's it too. You might be better off with the deadlift at that point. 15, okay. But if you need to modify your depth and work on your mobility, stability, and flexibility so you can get down into different positions, that's great. There's nothing that says your squat has to go to a certain depth. There's nothing that says you have to deadlift weight off the floor, not off the block. There's no rule book for those outside of competitive weightlifting. Do what fits your body. Do what makes you feel better. Do what can get you improvements and gradually work towards your goals. So we did regular squats, knee dominant movement. We're gonna focus on another variation of a squat, which is very knee dominant, but also forces your toes into extension, makes your calves work, makes you balance, and all that stuff. So I'm going to try to find the best angle here for you. So you're actually going to angle your feet out at about 45 degrees. This is called a hack squat. This is like an old-timey strongman lift, but it's awesome for people who have toe dysfunction, might need a little bit of core stability while working on their squat. Maybe they have hip pain. It's going to really focus on your knees. If you have great knee and quad flexibility, this might be a great lift for you. But you go about 45-degree turnout in your feet. I guess I'll show you straight on first. Heels are together. You're then going to lift up onto your toes. Your hands are going to go behind your butt. You're going to stay up on your toes. Whoop. And then you're going to come down and keep your chest up. And then you're going up. And we're going to do 5 more of these. So go up on your toes, stay nice and tight in your trunk, come down nice and slow, chest stays tall, And then you're here. I'm going to show you one from the side. We got 4 more to go. Up on your toes. Torso stays tall. And I'm up. You'll see how much toe extension I need on each foot. If I don't have that, I'm just going to fall on my butt. And so if you've been working on the mobility of your foot, this really reinforces those gains that you've had. Stretches out the bottom of your foot, works on all the foot intrinsics, the muscles that are inside the foot that help you stabilize. So that's a hack squat. Once again, really, really knee dominant. You can see how much my knee closes with this, right? It's almost, 140 degrees of knee flexion. It's not for everybody. If you have, osteoarthritis, or you've had a previous ACL injury or other injury to your knee, you might not want to go there, and you might just want to maintain a nice, healthy, regular squat, conventional squat. But for those of you who want to give it a try, just make sure you're up on your toes, torso stays upright. It's going to really show how you're balanced and how the systems are working throughout the entire chain of your body. And so we're going to go with a quad dominant exercise next. It's a step back lunge. If the balance and stepping is an issue maybe for your foot, maybe you just turn it into a split squat, something that we've done before on hip and back days. And so a step back lunge would be starting forward and stepping back. And you'll see my knee doesn't close very much. It only closes to about 90 degrees. But when I go to push myself through my foot, my quad has to work really hard. My glute has to work, but my quad is still doing most of the work. So if I do have knee pain, this is still a way where I can work on my quads, but spare my knee, maybe resulting in less pain overall, but still working on strengthening my knee. So down and up. I'm going to make 8 on each side. Hands are here. You can grab a dumbbell. You don't need weight if we're just working on mobility or establishing good strength or starting strength. Or you can have 2 kettlebells, 2 dumbbells. You can have a bar on your back. And if this is bothering you, maybe you just want to try a split squat, getting a little bit more stretch. Emphasizes taking some of the pressure off the back leg by pressure off the front leg by using your back leg more. But I'm going to stay here. And we're going to do one more. Let's switch sides. Torso stays upright. I'm not leaning back. Okay, I'm not compressing my lumbar spine, my low back. I'll shift here. Going back. 8 on each side. 2. If you look at my big toe when I land, oh, look at that great mobility. All those gains we got earlier from stretching. I'm doing our hack squats. Sparing my knees with these step back lunges. And one more. You guys doing okay? Whew. All right. Like I said, today's going to be a little bit more of a workout than days in the past. But it's all for gaining mobility and strength and flexibility and using all the stuff we're starting to gain. Now we're going to finish this last little bit here with stuff for the backs of our legs, our posterior chain, with some bridges, a way that maybe can get you to improve your toe touch if you can't touch your toes or if you can't even come close. We're going to practice hip hinging, which sets us up for a great deadlift, and then we're going to finish off strong with a single leg deadlift. So we've got 4 more things. A little bit easy to start, just showing the difference between the knee dominant stuff with the squats and the hip dominant stuff with the deadlift or hip hinge. So the first thing you're going to be doing is a bridge. So you're just going to lay on your back. Most people are pretty familiar with this. But I want you to have your feet as wide as your shoulders. And this is going to force you into a little bit of abduction of your hips. And it's going to make your glutes actually turn on a little bit more than the narrow bridge. So we're going to be making 15. You're going to keep your ribs down, okay? So I don't want this big flare in your ribs where your ribs are pointing up towards the ceiling and you go up and you have this huge arch in your back. That's my low back doing all the work, not my glutes. So I'm going to stabilize my trunk. I'm going to put my hands on my butt so I can feel them contracting better. And I'm bridging up, squeezing my butt 15 times. Keeping my knees apart the whole time, so I'm not letting them come in. Same thing with the squat. Keeping my ribs down. Making sure that I feel my glutes contract. 7 more. If someone's in the house with you, make sure you stare at them right in the eyes. They always get creeped out by that and they stop watching you. And great. Okay, so we see that our hips are basically doing all of that motion, hence being a hip dominant move, something that you can do. You can actually load that up by putting a barbell or bands around your hips and pushing up into them. It spares your knees and your quads, but also at the same time it can spare your back because it makes you have to actually use your glutes. So I got a lot of responses and questions and things that say, hey, I can't touch my toes. Well, first of all, there's nothing that says you should have to touch your toes. Maybe you got really long legs and short arms and you'll never get there. I don't know. But there's no like handbook that says you should. But as a practitioner, do I think that most people should be able to come close? I absolutely do. But I kind of care about how it happens. Does your spine have a nice even curve? Are your hips moving or is it all happening in your back? Do your knees bend? Do you want to fall forward? Those types of things. But one thing that if you just can't get down there, might be happening is maybe you have a lot of tension in the posterior structures. And so we want to actually put tension somewhere else in our legs. And maybe that can free up some mobility or flexibility in our hamstrings and in the posterior aspect of our spine. And now I was watching somebody's video. This guy's name is Bill Hartman. He's an amazing physical therapist out in the Midwest. I had the pleasure of meeting him one time, and of course, he probably doesn't even remember who I am. But he recently posted something on this, and I was like, oh yeah, definitely need to throw this in this week. I learned it years ago at a Titleist Performance Institute seminar for golfers. All you golfers out there, courses will hopefully be opening up soon. We can get back out there. But what you're going to do is you're just going to take a towel, a pillow, or something that you can squeeze between your legs. And we're going to focus on our breathing and trying to actually reach down for the ground and push our hips back. So we're stretching these out so we can make a better hip hinge after this, a better setup for a deadlift. So if we don't have good posterior chain mobility, getting into this position with a barbell, dumbbell, kettlebells, whatever it is really hard because our hamstrings are going to prevent us from getting down to the depth that we want to, and we're going to round our back. And so we need to have great mobility in our hamstrings to do this. So we're taking our whatever we need to squeeze. It could be a children's toy, a ball, whatever it is. But you're focusing on squeezing these together. You're going to inhale at the top. And you're going to fold forward. Breathe out and actually actively reach for the ground. You're going to take one more breath in. You're going to breathe out. Reach farther down for the ground. Relax your head. And then when you breathe in again, coming up. And then when you breathe out, going back down. Breathe in. Breathe out. Reach farther down. Keep those knees as straight as you can. Breathe in and come up. We have 3 more to go. Breathe out, go down. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in. Come up. 2 more. Breathe out and down. Breathe in. Big breath. Let it all out and just relax down farther. Breathe in and come up. And last one, out and down. Breathe in. Breathe out. Breathe in and come up. Okay, so as you saw, when I started, I could get my fingertips down. Not a problem. But by the time I finished, I could get my palms down on the ground. Now, it was a little bit of a strain, and that's okay. But you could just see my hamstrings and my posterior chain kind of free up and loosen up a little bit. And that's the intention of that. And now if you are experiencing any pain or numbness or tingling, that's the time that you're going to stop that. It's not worth it, okay? Clearly there's something else going on if those are the symptoms you're feeling. You should go see your doctor or talk to your doctor over telemedicine or your physical therapist. So we've worked on the mobility, the flexibility of the posterior chain, and now we want to, once again, hit save on the document. We want to use it. We want to express that length that we've gained in our tissue by using our nervous system, using our musculoskeletal system to put it all together so we kind of solidify some of those gains with what we're about to do. So we're just doing a simple hip hinge movement. Now I've done it a couple times already. By just being sideways, I'll show you. Actually, I'm going to grab this bench here. And this is going to show you how the hip hinge happens all on my hips. It's not called the knee hinge, it's called the hip hinge. So I'm going to put my shins against this bench, and I can produce a really good hip hinge without having to move my ankles. So I'm coming down, keeping my back straight, going to the point where my back wants to round, but I can still prevent it from happening, and then I come up. If I don't have the bench, push my butt back, and then I come up. We're going to make 3 more. Go. Push your butt back, shins stay vertical, and I squeeze my butt as much as I can at the top, and then I relax it to go down. And I also want to keep a nice straight neck. I'm looking at the camera to see myself, but you should have a nice straight neck. I don't want it craned here. This is bad news, okay? You're going to end up seeing me on Wednesday for neck and shoulders if that's how you're deadlifting. Straight spine, and we'll go 1 more. Great. And you'll see that top posture that I have with my hinge and my deadlift is not here. I'm not creating compression in my spine. I'm not putting extra pressure in my low back. So now, the piece de resistance, single leg deadlifts. We're putting it all together. We're going to need our ankle mobility, our balance, our knee flexibility, our hamstring flexibility and mobility, stability of our trunk, all that stuff with a single leg deadlift. Now, if I had bigger weights, or if I knew you guys had bigger weights at home, I'd actually just move your hip hinge to a weighted deadlift. But this is a great way of challenging all those things too without any weight at home. So feet are going to be hip width apart, and this is hip width, okay? I say hip width in the clinic a lot of times, and people are like, yeah, I got my hip width, and you're like, you know, that's outside your shoulders. You got to calm down a little bit here. So you got your hip width feet. You're going to shift your weight onto your working leg. In this instance, it's going to be my left leg. I'm going to reach back with a straight right leg, and I'm going to go down. I don't have to touch the floor, and then I'm coming back up. So from the side, I'm dragging my right foot back nice and straight. I go down, and then I'm pushing with my butt and my quad to come up. We're going 5 more for 8 on each side. I keep my hand out here for balance. You might want to do that too. 3, we have 2 more. Remember, make sure that back leg stays straight. 4, 1 more. All right. Right side. Remember your neck, you don't want to crane your neck. And all right.